That's one thing about me. I'm a perpetual learner and just at heart, I just want to know things and I like to test that knowledge.
Mhm.
So I want to make sure I understand it. But so from that aspect, start learning, start tinkering. I like to tinker a lot with technology
Yes.
and get my hands dirty just so I can understand it, be able to talk about it. And from there, I had to made a decision, said, okay, it's time to pivot.
Yes.
This is the future.
Welcome back to With Hat and Cattle, where we bring you stories from people who walk the walk and leave you better off for listening. I'm your host, Dani Raschel Chou. And again, in an effort to help increase AI literacy and bring AI conversations to the figurative kitchen table, we have industry expert Amir Habib in studio today.
Hello.
Hello. So, full transparency, I used Claude to help me prep for this episode and quickly
Great.
found that Claude pulled from the wrong Amir Habib.
That's all right.
So, your episode, your prep had me work a little bit and grateful for the experience.
Well, thank you for your time and having me here. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. So you are an executive leader in AI, digital transformation, and global strategist that has you have more than 25 years of experience helping
Correct.
drive growth and innovation. So throughout your career, you did embrace an entrepreneurial mindset. And I loved that Claude said it's instilled by your family from an early age.
That is
So
correct.
let's start there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna get into it pretty fast.
All right.
So curious, why would AI tell us that your family installed, oh my gosh, instilled these values?
I guess there's a couple of podcasts I talked about it. So I don't know if it pulled from that. It's interesting that I would get that. It's a little bit scary, some
Yeah.
aspects that wouldn't know me like that. But family has played a big part. I'm very fortunate to be born and raised by and surrounded by families that are leaders.
Mhm,
And it's just, and of course, my faith is very important.
mhm.
So it helps, ground me. And it's one of the things that is important. And especially in this fast moving world, we need grounding, you know.
Definitely. When you began looking into a career, was tech your first choice?
It was not. It was my dad was in the gas and oil business. He
Mhm.
owned convenience stores and gas station, and that's what I thought I would go into, probably military too as well. But he did not want that for me. My dream was to have a Buc-ee's, bunch of Buc-ee's.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. I was, had it planned out. I was pitching him the idea and trying to work with him and everything else. He's like, no, I want something better for you. With my studies and everything else, he wanted me to be an accountant, but that didn't excite me.
Yeah.
So I chose finance, which is, I think it's the sexy part of money, and got into finance and international business. Then after that, I was like, oh, okay, I like that. And so I was going to pursue a law degree in international business law. And just after that, I, to pay for law school,
Mhm.
I got into IT.
Okay.
So, and I got married, and, we decided, my wife and I, Amanda, we decided to focus on our family. And I fell in love with the field, and that's how I got into IT.
Oh, fell in love with IT.
I
I
did.
think that's the first time I've ever heard someone say that.
Gotta love what you do,
This
right?
is so
That's what everybody
true.
tells you.
1,000%. Austin and I were just talking before you came into the studio about finding that, whatever role you pursue or whatever it is that you're doing,
Right.
that why pulls you through those years that are, Jim Rohn called it the desert. And it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, your family became the why for you.
It is, absolutely. We got married, Amanda and I got married at a very young age. I was 22 and she was 21. And we didn't have much time together, being, just newlywed. And
Uh-huh.
my first son and my second and my third was back to back. So that was the why, the family. And I was fresh green in IT during that period. And I had to do a lot of studying and reading and books like literally like this big. And
Mhm.
just that is the why. Why is your driver
Yes.
when it gets dark?
You had to, it sounds like, get caught up really fast because you were pivoting. You went from
Correct.
yeah,
I was.
you went from gas, oil, convenience stores, this was the dream, to sounds like law school.
I
That's gonna
was
be in the future,
correct.
and then you pivoted to IT.
Right. And I was in finance. So I
Yeah.
had my Series 6, 2663 and insurance license and all that stuff. And it just, I enjoyed it, but it didn't excite me.
When you were making these pivots, that's a lot of trust to have in yourself because you're making the pivot like, "Yes, this is the next step." And it's like, "Oh, no, this is the next step.
Right.
Oh, wait, it's this step." Can you speak a little to that trust that you had in yourself as you were making those pivots? Where did that come from?
First I had support. That's the most important part. Like the old adage, every, successful man or every good man, there's a good woman behind him.
Yes.
So a lot of thanks to my wife for her support and patience and understanding. I do pivot. And even in my personal life, I do pivots, from budgets to other stuff, which is important. But the trust in myself is a belief that my wife and my family had in me. So that strengthened me, and trust in the Lord. I know, in today's world, these kind of things are not that mainstream or popular, but again, it goes back to my roots, which grounded me.
I mean, I feel it resonates with people that have strong foundations or strong belief systems. For you, it is religious in nature. It's
Yes.
it's God and your family,
Yes.
but the core behind that is have a strong foundation, have that strong community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that seems to be the theme of the day. The theme of today seems to be community and not being
Absolutely.
afraid to to reach for the support and to be intentional about building that strong community.
Exactly. You have to be intentional. And I forgot to mention also, I was very blessed with strong leaders that believed in me
Mhm.
and gave me opportunities.
Yeah. That speaks to your character. And it sounds like it was developed at a very early age. For someone who's listening, and maybe I'm inserting myself a little bit into the narrative, but in the 20s it was, hot mess. 20s were a hot mess and life's getting back on track in their 30s.
Right.
What would you tell that person if they're now ready to be intentional about beginning, and then because that's the first part, right? You got to be intentional
Correct.
to help build trust, have people then start recommending you because not everyone has that.
Right.
Yeah. So what would be the first step you'd advise them to take?
Be quiet.
I love this.
And the reason I say that, get to know yourself.
Mm,
Really, truly get to know yourself. Meditate. Ask yourself, what do you truly believe in? You have to find that why. And you have to, and that all comes together and you form and you understand your true north, right? True north is very, very important. And people will see that in you, and that will attract the right people, right? And also ask for mentorship. And that's okay. Some people say, you know what, I have too much to do, and that's great. But don't give up. If it's a person that you admire and respect, and if if they said, hey, they're too busy, guess what? Knock on the door again and again, again, persistence. So that is to do that, to get that opportunity. So there's many times where when I had a mentor and I went, pursued him several times, and they finally like, okay, fine. And at the end of it, we were very glad, right?
mhm.
I got a lot out of it. I learned a lot, and he did too as well. So he didn't realize he is capable, or not capable, but just the amount he enjoyed
Mhm.
giving back.
You yourself brought value to the relationship too. It wasn't just one-sided, and I
Correct.
feel that's important. What would you have lost out on if that mentor had told you no?
I would have lost um, my growth.
Mm,
It would have slowed me down, I would not lost. I would slow me down. I wouldn't have accelerated my growth. I mean, I don't look at anything as lost. I look at it as there might be some road bumps
Mhm.
and, things I have to overcome. So, I hate losing. So that is part of my personality. I learned that at an early age too, playing sports.
What sports did you play?
I
Oh,
played for SMU rugby. I was the front row captain. So that was in college, and high school it was football. And when I was younger, I played, soccer, and let's see what else, basketball, and I took a couple of lessons in tennis. So yeah,
as we're talking, the different facets of who you are makes it apparent about why you are in the world and the words are hard.
that's all right.
Why you are in the role that you're in today, the leadership that comes from serving and playing in an organized sport,
Right,
having again the importance of the strong community, of finding the right mentor,
right,
because
coaches. Yeah,
all of that, you are now in a position where you work for a huge company.
right. Privately held. That is
Yes,
correct.
yes.
Consulting company.
And I wanted to speak to that because you are not an entrepreneur,
No,
right?
but I have the spirit.
No, definitely
But when I
that.
was younger, I started a couple of businesses.
Did you? What did you start?
I started basically, this is going to, age me, but I invested in phone cards. Do you remember? Well, that's probably
Oh,
before
that
your
is a
time.
no, that is a throwback. My parents would send me to camp with a phone card.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you
So
unlocked a memory.
you, I don't know if you want to tell your listeners about what phone cards are, but
You probably can do it more
sure, absolutely.
succinctly.
So basically, the carriers like AT&T back then, when you wanted to call long distance, right? You either had to call collect or put a bunch of quarters,
Yes.
or they charge you per minute if you're using a landline like a business or a home,
Uh-huh.
and you'd buy these cheap cards like for $10, and they give you better rates for
Yes.
long distance. So I got into that, sold them, and was before they were everywhere.
I was gonna ask, was this like a door-to-door enterprise or were you going
No, I
to
leveraged my dad's
B2B?
business.
Okay.
So I got the mats and everything else, and he said, "Okay, go for it, but you're spending your own money." And I was like, "Great!" So I made some money off that. I did went to do when I was younger again, door to door. Learned about that
Yes.
and financial services as well. Basically, it's 100% commission.
Mhm.
So that was a challenge there. So, but I had to create my own company, but I had relationships with financial institution and had to sell their products and grow that. So,
Those are all skills again that you just picked up along the way and while you were learning to sell, the phone cards and the financial services, you were also kind of selling yourself. This is who I am. Again, you were learning. I'm trying to phrase this right to where when I get with people like you, with the other Amir, I get like, oh my gosh, I lose my words.
I love the other
Yeah,
Amir.
he's so great.
He is.
As you're selling the phone cards and the financial services, you are also learning what it takes to, in a way, kind of sell yourself.
Yes,
Does that,
that is correct
yeah,
because people are not buying products; they're buying you. Is that correct?
that is,
Right?
yes.
And it is they fall in love with you or like you, and they want to help out. They want to be, and if you have a great product, that's great. But there's a lot of companies that don't have great products, but have high sales. And it's because of these people. And on top of that, I believe everybody is a salesperson. We started at a young age selling your parents on something. You're selling yourself, you're selling your spouse on ideas or whatever. And it might not be called sales, but it's that relationship, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that I was fortunate, I didn't realize I had this, but one of my mentors in financial services, he said, I have a relational sales approach
Mm,
where it's a relationship.
mhm.
It's not transactional, where it's sell you something, thank you very much, and you won't see me. It has to be relational.
Yes. And we're
So
seeing that. I'm studying marketing, studying strategic communication specifically. And so, of course, the algorithm now gives me all the things marketing related. And I'm getting content and information that speaks to people are so just tired of the influencer that's the one off. Oh, look, I tried the supplement. This is my code. It's not
Right.
authentic. Are they really using it? We are now in a world where you really have to work to build that trust. And
Exactly.
if you're
Yeah.
selling a product, invite the consumer into your world. How exactly are you using it? So, in a way, you're creating a relationship with your community. Like,
Yes.
even more so, that becomes important. And it relates back to the sale if it's an influencer, because at the end of the day, they do want to sell a product. The work now is building that trust even more. We're touching a bit on technology, and as you and I are talking, I'm I'm trying to insert different ways in which the large language model, and in this one I chose Claude, helped
Yes.
me prep this interview to also speak to the flaws that it had,
Correct.
because we sat down before this episode, and again, you pointed out all the discrepancies, and that some of that's on me because I did feed it your LinkedIn. I fed it the episode of Black Belts in Boardrooms, which I'm
Right.
going to link in the show notes because that is another appearance you made,
Yes.
and that's where I'd actually met you before, and
Yes.
then heard the episode, and it resonated so much. I really Amir just needs to be on the podcast. It just tied in with your AI background and knowledge, which I'm so excited in a second to get into because that was another pivot. Yeah,
Yes.
for the world at large, but again for you because now it is a career path.
Absolutely.
Amir, let's talk now about AI. I remember first hearing about AI, I believe in 2022.
Hmm.
So OpenAI, ChatGPT,
Right.
and it was a way of, that was going to make life better, like more efficient. You could automate things.
Right.
And now the conversation has changed to it's become just another divisive topic. And when you started with AI, what when well, first off, let me backtrack
Sure.
because AI has been around for a while now. We know that.
That is
When
correct.
did you first learn about AI?
I learned it through my middle son, Alex, in high school.
Okay.
And he wrote his junior or senior paper in I want to say 2018. It was some form of OpenAI. Um, and he wrote his paper with it. And it was very clunky.
Uh huh.
And he did I forgot what they call it. It's almost like a senior paper dissertation. He wrote it and his professors allowed it, but it was very clunky. But he was showing the power of it,
Right.
which was very impressive just to see that. And after that, put it in the back of my mind, didn't think much of it.
Hmm.
And it started creeping up in around COVID time when I started paying a little bit closer attention. And of course, every year after that, I I was like, okay, what's going on with AI and how is this going to impact the future of IT and everything
Yeah.
else? And it scared me.
Hmm.
And the reason is it's because I was thinking how quickly it is accelerating from perspective of seeing it in 2017 to like say 2020 when I started paying more attention to it and so forth year over year,
Yeah.
and its power, what it could capable of doing.
Hmm.
And the thought leaders back then of what they envisioned it's going to do.
And before we continue, I want to just interject. And so when we speak of AI, in general, we're talking generative AI, right? So like the
Correct.
large language models like
Correct.
ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot,
Correct.
right? So because
So when I refer to AI, that's what I'm referring to.
yes, and I feel it's important to make that distinction because in my head,
You got
we
machine learning, you got physical AI, you got all
yes.
of that when people say AI. Yeah, AI is just a big umbrella.
Hmm.
Right.
So at some point, you decided to become intentional
Correct.
and learn more about it. What was the first thing that And we had Paul Byrne on the show not too long ago, and he joked like, everyone at one time was talking prompt engineering, and
Right.
now we're not really hearing that anymore. Now
No.
it's changed to agentic AI, and eventually it's going to move on to something else.
Right.
But when you decided to become intentional, what was that first step for you?
Read about it,
Yes.
talked to people about it. I had to test my knowledge. So I was one of the first people AWS has, which is Amazon Web Services, had a new certification for that. And they asked me to take it. So be one of the first people to take it. So I
Mm-hmm.
took it and passed it. I didn't think I was going to pass,
Really?
really, but now it's a standard test over there
Yeah.
because it was pretty difficult. That's one thing about me. I'm a perpetual learner and just at heart, I just want to know things and I like to test that knowledge.
Mhm.
So I want to make sure I understand it. But so from that aspect, start learning, start tinkering. I like to tinker a lot with technology
Yes.
and get my hands dirty just so I could understand it, be able to talk about it. And from there, I had to made a decision and said, okay, it's time to pivot.
Yes.
This is the future.
It's one of the best pieces of advice someone gave me was subscribe to a newsletter
Yes.
about AI. And that was early on, and that has been so invaluable. One that I tell people, they're like, well, I don't know, because now we live in a world where there's so much access to information, it can feel overwhelming.
Right.
Shelley Palmer, who is a trusted,
Yes.
known voice, that's actually
Yes.
how we first met, was going
Right.
to
Shelley. Yes.
Shelley Palmer Talk. He has a great newsletter, and he
Correct.
has some free courses on his site as well.
Right.
So
He's a
again,
professor too, if I
and
recall, right?
he is at Syracuse. That's a takeaway, right?
Mhm.
Subscribe to a newsletter and get your hands on keyboard and start learning it. And all right, we're gonna go here. And you can tell me, Amir, like Dani, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. And we
Okay.
don't have to. There's so much information online right now about data centers and AI and how we have to build all these data centers to
Correct.
advance AI. And again, when people hear that, they're thinking, oh, well, it's the people who are using ChatGPT and Claude and all these tokens and burning through our resources. But that's not what the data centers are just being used for.
Right.
It's the autofocus on your camera. It's all the
Correct.
photos on your camera, all the information, all the videos that are being uploaded into YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. Those are all using data centers as well. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely correct. And that's my cousin and I kind of it's if you see her online, she talks about stuff like that, right? About data center hyperscaling and it's important. You're always going to need data centers,
Mhm.
period. That's not going to go anytime away. Now, what you'll see is efficiency going to happen over time from power consumption, water consumption, uh, per rack, how much power it could sustain, right? That way, the efficiency are going to be in place. But everything uses data centers these days. So from going to the grocery store, that's hosted somewhere at a data center,
Yeah.
and some people may not understand why data centers versus a company would host it inside
Mhm.
on prem. It's because of the basically the scalability. You got power. You don't have to expand if your infrastructure grows. So when I say infrastructure, meaning like if a company has servers in-house on premises, right? And they have so much power they could use, and all of a sudden now there's Black Friday sale, and they're like needing to add more servers or what have you, right? They need more power and more cooling and you know, bigger internet bandwidth. And so instead of doing that, you have it at a data center where it has redundancy, scalability, and it's just it just makes sense from that perspective.
Thank you for being willing to speak to that because we're only being told part of the story. As someone who's studying strategic communication, I'm starting to really see how the media does control
Right.
narratives and stories and can what we call create agendas. It's so important to hear both sides.
Right.
And again, not just being AI literate, which is why we're sitting with you today, but the media literacy, especially now in a world where AI has people questioning, is this is this a real person in this ad? Pause and just do Google search or something
Right.
has become so important today.
It is.
Now, let's go ahead and jump to because we kind of jumped into the AI conversation, and that's on me as a host. But right now, you are in a field that's very AI forward.
Right. Absolutely. And in the company that I work for, it's their motto is AI first.
Okay.
But I like what you did with the bracelet here, where it says human first,
Yes.
which it makes sense, and it should be human first, then AI.
Human in the loop, just in an effort. The reason I bring up these examples is these are ways that the community can find to just learn a little bit more about AI.
Yes.
There is a podcast local host, the AI space, and he hosts monthly meetups. And so I went last night, and the talk was about how to scale and streamline ops with AI. And one of the audience members asked the question: How do we bridge the gap between truth and trust? And
Good question.
again, this is important because Claude told me not to talk to you about trust because that first off, that's what you have on your LinkedIn profile, right? That you are
Correct.
a trusted leader. So one, it's important that you be known as a trusted leader,
Correct.
but that you have been asked about trust so many times. Claude told me not to
Yes.
ask you about it, but I mean, you can't help but ask in an AI conversation like this trust come up. But going back to the question, he brought up the example that AI now can do medical diagnoses that are 93% accurate. A human doctor, that percentage, and I'm going to get it wrong, but it's like the low 80s. Okay. But a person still wants a diagnosis from a human doctor
Yes.
compared to an AI machine. So his question was, how do we bridge that gap when, I mean, the truth is AI is actually better, but the trust is lagging behind
Yes.
that. And that's where again that human first, the experts on the panel spoke to AI can pick out the signal from the noise. I mean, AI is good at that, at looking at the patterns.
Absolutely.
And then one of the panelists said, no, the question actually needs to be how can we as AI and as the human make up that 7% to get to the 100% accuracy?
Right.
And I thought that was so good.
It is.
So in your experience and your background, can you speak a bit to how you're bridging the gap between the truth and trust?
Yes, absolutely. It is an ongoing effort. Are we ever going to get there? I think it's we're dealing with people, mindsets,
Mhm.
so and beliefs and trust is when it comes to things like this is very hard
Mhm.
to um, to give, if that makes sense from perspective of even when I leverage, let's say Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok, I still have to check. Is it ever going to get to 100%? Probably close, but I don't think we'll ever get 100% because information changes so much. But to build the trust with the human and everything else, that's where, let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? Discernment
Mhm.
has to come into play to fill in that gap. AI, again, like you were saying, has to do with it's able to pick up patterns. It could digest huge amount of data,
Oh my gosh, this
huge.
person that I heard give us a talk, they cover policy in journalism, and they have a GPT or some type of agent that is crawling, trolling.
Hmm.
And if a certain politician is speaking to certain topics several times,
Right,
that's a clue. Oh, this might be upcoming policy that they're going to be introducing,
right,
right? Whereas to take the transcript from all the different events they're going to and manually review it to pick up that pattern can take days, maybe weeks.
right,
And with AI, it took hours.
right. Absolutely. Now, think who else could be using that? Financial institutions,
Mhm.
traders.
Yep. Yep.
They want to see what the pattern is ahead of time so they could plan ahead of time and to leverage for it. Either they need to sell or they need to buy, things like that.
We are seeing in the news that Anthropic has they released, is it Fable 5? And
Correct.
then the US government said, absolutely not. Like,
Yes.
put a stop on this. And we just learned over the past couple of days why. They tested it and it showed flaws in security. It found the flaws
Correct.
within hours.
Yes.
And why was that important?
Because you got companies that cannot move fast enough because they're so big,
Hmm.
and to make a change in the environment it takes time to get approvals, and from change management to leaders approving it, then they have to test it just to make sure it doesn't break something else, the fix. And but also it could be overwhelming. It's going to be an ocean of security, identify security holes, right? And imagine now, 80% of your system, multiple different systems, all these comes out, these CVEs comes out, which is basically bulletins saying, hey, your Microsoft, you have this hole. You have this hole in your infrastructure, your network. You have this on your switches. You have this in your router. You have this in your database, right?
Hmm.
It's just, it's good to have. If you're the company manufacturer of the software
Yeah.
or the hardware, it's good to have on your side. That way you could release your securities and patch them ahead of time. And when you're developing them, you could run it against that. So,
And
yes,
for the most part, the bad guys are going to target these companies, right? That was
the
the
bad
fear.
actors will.
Yes,
Yes,
that was the fear that we release this and it falls into the wrong hands and vulnerabilities are exposed and world
correct.
chaos. It feels like for the everyday person, this is something else to be scared about, right? Like first was AI's here and it's going to take your job. And then that narrative has it hasn't fully gone away, but we're learning that you still need the human in the
Yeah,
loop
absolutely.
and
Critical
you're
thinking. You
yes.
cannot have AI do critical thinking.
So what it's going to end up doing is just up leveling humanity in general. We're going to
Right.
become better critical thinkers and such. And now this is another layer. Oh my gosh, am I going to lose my life savings, because this AI system has found its way into the wrong hands? Is there anything that we can do to protect ourselves?
Leveraging your critical thinking or using your critical thinking, right? And be just kind of look at things closer. Even the phishing emails
Yeah.
are
So good.
they're so good. Absolutely. You used to be able to figure it out by looking at misspelled words. English could appear to be somebody's second language that wrote it. Or,
It was so formal. Like,
yes,
good
absolutely.
sir. Yes.
So you do your best practices of checking the domain name, where it comes from. If it says, hey, sign into your Microsoft account, and if it comes from a Gmail account, then you realize that that's going to happen. On my phone, I get scammed, not scammed, but, I get
The
things
phishing
like,
text.
hey, this is your boss. I need cards and everything else. So normally do not do this.
Mhm.
I respond back.
Yeah, we are told not to do that.
Yes,
Yes.
I respond back and I tell the person, first of all, I know this is a scam. You're capable of doing much more for humanity than doing this.
Yeah.
If you need help, then ask for help. Don't scam people out of their hard-earned money. And I'm paraphrasing what I said. It's pretty long text.
Uh-huh.
And some respond back and they kind of share who they are and a little bit of themselves. And I was like, wow, okay.
Wow.
But I'm not, don't ever do that. Don't
Yeah.
engage. I just got tired of it and I figured, okay, maybe I could help
Good
convert some
point.
of these people into the light.
Now we're curious. Like what are they telling you back? Just that they're a student and that they're on hard times? Do they
They're they're
actually
they're in hard times.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's over, and it's a third world country. And this is the way that's how they're able to feed their family and everything else. So, I mean, it's sad to see that, but you're dealing with human, right?
Yeah.
And if you could get to the root of the problem and try to figure out solutions for it, maybe it would help deter some of these people that get into this kind of unethical and activities.
I'm speechless.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll show you the text later.
Yes, please do. I wanna lean a little into the trust aspect, if you
Sure.
don't mind. So, again, your LinkedIn handle says that you're a trusted leader, and
Correct.
as we have sat and talked with you, it's apparent that's not just a job title, it's not just following company model. This is a deliberate identity pick. This is an intentional claim. Was there a specific moment when someone made you feel like you were just the accountant? How did that become your fuel rather than a ceiling?
People are going to put limitations on you. And that's where the mentorship comes in. That's where, having a good foundation and good support system, your community, and could break that,
Mhm.
right? Um, I have been put a limitation. Oh, you're just this or whatever. And you got to have the intrinsic motivation to break that and surpass that ceiling, right? Nobody could define you. You are a free individual with thinking, ability to think for yourself, and ability to be the captain of your ship in this life.
So good. And I feel like I'm listening to Jim Rohn right now. And if you've been following me on LinkedIn, I've just finished listening to a particular. I was intentional about the YouTube video that I chose to listen to. 10 things you need to tell yourself every morning.
Hmm.
And every morning, just put it on, listen to it, and reminded me of certain things we need to be doing in life. And one of them was what you tell yourself first thing in the morning sets the tone for the rest of the day.
Absolutely.
That narrative, that self-talk, keeping promises to yourself.
Right.
Again, it's how you build trust. That's how you build self-trust.
Exactly.
Mhm. Throughout your career, you've led service delivery for some of the world's largest clients,
Correct.
working within highly process-driven organizations and tech consultancies known for delivering at super enterprise scale.
Yes.
What did those customers teach you about building systems? So we're moving a bit past the internal circle
Right.
and looking at what your outer circle, your outer connections have taught you. What did those customers teach you about building systems that are not only innovative but reliable?
People
Yeah.
are the key. That's what they taught me.
How so?
We could build the greatest strategy. We could implement the best architecture.
Mhm.
But if we don't have the right people in place and we don't have the buy-in from leadership, then it doesn't matter at
That
this point.
you spoke to, so the buy-in is so important. It's not being implemented.
It's not being implemented. The buy-in is not there, but it goes back to what we discussed earlier, trust.
Mm.
Trust, trust, trust. People are understandably are apprehensive about AI and scared to lose their job. Yes, people will end up losing jobs,
And we're
right?
we're seeing it.
Right? That's exactly it's going to happen, unfortunately. But it's going to also create a lot more jobs. And also it's going to help people to upskill. It's going to force people to upskill. And that's what you want.
Being fully transparent, and I have said this before on the show, as an executive assistant, that was one of the early discussions is AI is replacing admin jobs. Now you can have an agent that responds in your behalf in your
Correct.
voice via email. So what does that look like now for the field of being an executive assistant? Well, we're now seeing that, I mean, executives still need follow-up. They still need help with that, still need
Correct.
help. Yeah, an AI assistant can take your notes, but then what do you do with that? Where is it stored? There are still mistakes made in calendaring. It's not, if the automation will be, "Oh, there's an appointment here, so this other person can't get the slot." Well,
Correct.
if the other person is someone that your executive has been trying to get a meeting with for months, a human knows that, "Oh, I need to reschedule this
Correct.
because this other meeting has been in the works a bit longer." But
Right.
that being said, as an executive assistant, I still need to make sure I'm upskilling and understanding how to
Absolutely.
use these tools, not just to make my executive more efficient, but to add value to my role and to help just make the organization efficient.
Right.
I was curious if you felt there were still going to be a need for roles that still are in the manufacturing or industrial type, and curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yes, there will be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Of course, industrial, building cars and everything else. It's just, where it used to be somebody would weld and everything else. Now they got robotics that do that.
Oh my gosh, I forgot which oil company and, the default, I wanna say Exxon because 'cause they're just so big, but how so many people were needed to tighten the nuts and the bolts,
Right,
right? And it was actually a dangerous job if you didn't
right,
do it correctly, and now they have robots doing it, and it makes it safer.
correct.
We get that automation, so we know it's being done to a certain standard.
So let me ask you this. If we talk about job loss and everything else, and it just kind of came to me when I was talking about the welder, the person that working in manufacturing, right? And his job was replaced with a robot. How many jobs did it create? We lost one job, or let's say we lost 5 jobs or 10 jobs. How many jobs did it also create down the line or up? Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody has to create the robot, somebody has to program it, somebody has to build it, and so forth, right? So that's when I always say yes, but it'll also create other jobs and you will have to upskill, right?
Yeah.
For EAs, efficiency is instead of handling one executive, you could handle now three.
Mhm.
If you have, like you're saying, your agent is helping out and everything else, right? Agents will be reporting to humans, AI agents. So it's like little helpers.
This is why I enjoy having these industry experts in the studio and getting to sit down and talk with you because we're seeing things online and we're hearing certain narratives. And it's
Right,
like, oh my gosh, it can feel a bit like Chicken Little. The world is falling.
right,
But when we have people who are actually in it and are taking the time to have conversations, we see a bit more, a little bit behind the curtain, actually hear what's going on
right.
and understand a little bit more. Like, yes, and in the past, there have been roles that have been made redundant. Like,
Right,
even as a city planner, we laugh about some of the uses that are outdated in some city codes and like a use chart.
right.
There was at one point a use curtain and upholstery, like just specific curtain upholstery manufacturing. Like
Okay.
that was a specific use. And now it's just manufacturing overall. At one time, everything was so specialized it had its own use.
Mhm.
And so it's things do naturally evolve. And with AI, it's just evolving so much faster. And
It
I
is.
feel that that's the truth.
Right. So how do you get ahead of this? You upskill, and there's one thing that the next generation will have that I'm really kind of envious of.
Uh huh.
They're going to learn to be better critical thinker, and they're going to be so much smarter and so much better than us.
And I thank you for speaking to that because, again, we are being told that critical thinking skills are going out the door with the use of generative AI.
Interesting.
Yeah, that
I would disagree with that. To have a successful AI agent, you got to leverage critical thinking. In everything with AI, you got to have critical thinking in place. I am just struggling with that.
well, because
If you take it,
what's being shown online is the bad slop, is AI slop. Which
exactly.
is a result of bad processes, which again, I just learned last night thanks to or I got the language to speak about because of this meetup I went to last night. I was told by a Gen Z person they didn't like LinkedIn because it's full of AI slop. And I couldn't argue that because I do see a lot of AI slop on LinkedIn. That being said, LinkedIn has been so pivotal for me in making connections and building relationships in advancing in my role because it is centered or geared towards businesses and
Right.
business relationships. But I couldn't argue that I actually just hired a graphic designer from Fiverr
Okay.
to help me with some graphic design and some things that I have that I want to build with my brand because I didn't want AI slop. I didn't want it to look like everyone else's content.
How do you know the graphic designer is not going to be using AI?
I am trusting because they have to turn over to me a document that if I want it copyrighted, I own the intellectual rights. I own the rights to it.
Okay.
Whereas, if you build art or if you generate a logo with AI, you can't copyright it.
Right.
So I'm trusting that because they're turning over that document to me,
Hmm.
that I mean, the onus is on them that they did make it by themselves. It's creative property and they've now transferred the right to me to own it
Right.
and I can copyright should I choose to do so. There's the trust.
There it goes back to trust.
It all goes back to trust.
Exactly.
And so far, their reviews have been stellar. So
Good.
again, just another layer of building trust.
Right.
It all comes down to trust.
Yes.
I want to go back to the processes really quick when we were talking about AI. From that meetup last night, I got the language of bad processes build AI slop.
Exactly. Absolutely. Garbage in, garbage out. And I'm sure we all heard about that.
I learned it.
Um,
I learned that in Sunday school.
yes, absolutely. And it's important to have a successful AI journey. It's your data and your people.
Yep.
You got to have good data that's been scrubbed, and you need humans for that. And then you could leverage that into your process, introduce it to your processes, and then after that, automate, leverage AI, and then you'll have a successful AI journey. Does it mean it's going to be perfect? No. Is it going to need people to tweak for people to tweak it? Yes, absolutely. And that goes back to critical thinking, right? Somebody has to look at this data.
That's a perfect way to introduce the next guest who's going to be speaking to AI, Alex Siskos, who actually is his background and his work is, I don't know if his background, but his current work is in physical AI.
Nice.
And he has said we need to be the best set of humans to use AI.
Yes.
And that comes down to, I feel, maintaining your trust and doing what you can do to stay AI literate.
Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
So before we let you go, Amir, you are well known for speaking to your true north. In a world where AI has us, should have us questioning everything that we see online, how do you stay true to your true north?
I say goes back to my foundation that I spoke about earlier.
Hmm.
And you got to have a critical eye. And there's going to be a lot of things out there that's going to tempt you to go away from your true north, which I have and learned to go back. And over time, you learn that, you know what, this might be easier or simpler or might help you try to get your task, but you miss on the journey. So, one of the things that helps me with the true north is I'm in it for the journey at the end of the day, right? That's how I grow. I Getting to know yourself. I need that. I have to have that process inside to grow.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us and sharing a bit of your background, navigating the AI discussion, and having fun with me a bit about how Claude did get it a little wrong as we prepped for the interview.
Hey, again, I mean, it's yeah, it happens, right? And that's why it's important not to take everything, at face value.
Exactly. And it led to us actually getting to sit down after a networking event or
Yes,
and and getting to know each other a little better
yes,
as we discussed
right.
what Claude had found about you. So
Yes.
again, Amir, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.